morning, everyone. Welcome to KW Malaysia's virtual training and happy June. This is the first day of June and I'm glad that all of you are with us this morning. Quick question. I think we have about 120, 115 people here today. Put it on the chat box. What's the expectation that you expect to learn from today's session? Just write that in the chat box right now. What's the expectation of what you're expecting to learn from today's session? Please key that into the chat box right now. Anyone? What's your expectation to learn from what we're going to get from today's session? On the chat box, please. Okay, you all don't be shy. Just write it down on that chat box. What do you expect to take away from today's session? Put that into the chat box. Right? More closings. Awesome. What else? Secret to success. Okay. Set, go, and close deal. Awesome, Ryan. What else? What are other things that you want to learn from today's session and implement it in your business? Numbers. Absolutely. What else? Okay, here's the next question. Better planning strategy. Absolutely, May. Here's the next question. Efficient, effective system. Awesome. Let me ask you this second question right now. For those who have been on a training about economic model, press 1. Those who have never had a training on economic model, press 2. Those who have had an economic model, press 1. Those who have never done economic model training, press 2. Okay, so let's just understand where we all are. All right. Okay, so about 40%, I think I have not been on the economic model. I want to take this opportunity and kind of share with you why this economic model is so critical and so important, because it's going to really define your business. And what I mean by defining your business, if you all have not read this red book, you all should be reading this red book, right? I want you to, if you have this red book right now, in any trainings that you're going through right now from KW Malaysia, my encouragement for you is to have this red book with you at any point in time. Hold it next to you. This is your Bible for your business. And if you have your books with you, turn to page 99. Sorry, turn to page 97. I'm sorry. And you will see this fundamental 3 L's of the $1 Million Real Estate Agent. I'm going to quickly share my screen on my Scribble account. Marcus, please take note if it's not working. Please let me know. Can you all see my Scribble account? There you go.
Yep, can see.
Okay. Read the rate book first. There's a good question. All 3 books you have bought, which one to read? You read the rate book first, because that's the fundamental. And in this fundamental from page 97, it talks a lot about. It talks about this important triangle. You all see my screen right now, right? Excuse me, because I am not an art major in school, so my drawing is very basic. And this is the what I'm bringing you all to think about is this is the fundamental thinking in your head when you want to do this real estate business or in any business. It's very similar. So what you want to see here is number 1, the foundation of sorry, what just happened? The foundation of this thinking is leads. The first L is leads. Now, if you don't have an understanding or a focus on getting leads, then you are not in business. I repeat, if you don't have the fundamental foundation of understanding what leads is, and why leads is critical, because it's the fundamental basic. Why is it down on this fundamental base of this triangle? Is because it is the most important thing to be talking about. Now, you are either lead generating or you are lead generating or you are lead receiving. You are either generating leads or you are receiving leads, right? So 2 things. One is active, one is passive. And the other part that we have here is listings. Sorry. Listings. Okay, so listings is the other column. So if you're in real estate business, listings is critical. You need to have stock for sale, right? And the last one is leverage. Now, what is leverage? Leverage is basically what is a system or models or people that you are leveraging on. Now, I get this a lot. A lot of agents, they go on a phone call, they go and lead generate new leads for their business. They will lead generate as much as they can, and they will take on any listings, right? How many of you, when someone call you and say, I want to give you a listing to work on right now, you're very excited and you will say yes? How many of you will say that? How many of you will say yes to a call from an owner who say, I want to pass you my listing right now? Now, let me give you another specific question. How many of you will say yes to a listing that is in Port Dickson? How many will say yes to a listing in Port Dickson right now? All of you say yes to Port Dickson. Now, the question is why? Why do you say yes to this listing in Port Dickson? How is your business being shaped? If you think about your business right now, right, you need to understand in your leverage model, in your system, what is that goal you are setting will define the kind of leads you'll be doing. It will define the kind of listings that you'll be taking. Now, it may be exclusive in Port Dickson, but my question to you is, if your goal is to make ringgit 1 million, and all it takes for you to do is 10 transactions, you have to ask yourself, is that listing in Port Dickson relevant to your 10 transactions or not? Is it going to bring you a percentage of the transaction to hit your goal? Your business and our business should be driven by a goal. And the economic model help us understand this triangle relationship or this lead generate, this 3 L's of the $1 million agent thinking by piecing it together. In order for you to understand what you want to achieve in life, you must first set a goal. And then you work towards the goal. And you must ask yourself, are the things that you do today going to help you hit your goal? Some of the coachings that I coach agents, high production agents, I always ask them this question. If you take this listing and if you take this opportunity, how is this helping you hit your goal? If it's not helping you hit your goal, why are you spending your time doing it? The only reason why you can understand this and have that conversation with that coaching agent is because that agent knows what his goal and he has a model and an economic model to support him. So the fundamental of economic model, it's the most important basis of how we run our business. Because a lot of times I see often agents go around and doing everything and not achieving anything. How many of you understand what I'm trying to say? They do a lot of things, but end up not achieving much. How many of you can understand what I'm trying to say? If you can, please press 1. There you go. All of you understand what I'm trying to say. So that's really the fundamental of why the economic model is critical, right? And I think it's very important that we start with this. And a lot of times people think goal setting, it's about us beginning of the year, drawing a poster, setting a goal. But the problem with that goal setting, it doesn't have steps to help you achieve your goal, right? So the economic model gives us that opportunity to explore and codify our goal with steps in place. Now with this, I want to introduce George Tan. George Tan, you're on the call. George is actually our team leader in Market Center 2. He's a KWU Malaysia regional training faculty. He's the only person, I'm very jealous of George because he's the only person that have shook Gary Keller's hand in a bathroom before. So he has all the transfers of Gary Keller's, the author of this book, Gary Keller's power all transferred to him in the toilet in May when he went with us to Austin, Texas. So without further delay, George, take us away about and give us a perspective of the economic model. So everyone, welcome George.
Thanks, John. You all can hear me? Okay, if you can hear me, make sure you put a yes there so I know that you're there. I'm going to share my screen, and then from there we'll just go in and take maybe an hour plus to review some of the economic models. Huh? Let me share my screen. My screen. Can you see my screen?
Yep. Can you put it in presentation mode, please, George?
Okay, let me just go in now. But you can see the screen now because I just was down just now. Presentation mode. Okay. Okay, and okay, the welcome everyone for joining this Zoom call. Now, this session basically economic model. It seems like it's very basic, but when I've been thinking about actually sharing it today, I felt like those that have gone through this before will also benefit because we are going slower to try to understand. So if you have any questions, feel free to put it in the chat box so that if I cannot get to that, Jonathan or some of the visual people can actually bring it up. Huh? You notice the title here is a millionaire agent. I know basically when you think about making $1 million, a lot of people freaked out because they felt like it cannot be done. But at the same time, over the last 1 year plus, that's really all that we've been talking about, how to make $1 million. And the economic model will show you that it is possible. That's why I put it below the economic model is to follow the model. That's one thing that you hear a lot more, just follow the model and then you will succeed. And what I did is today, when I break the goals down a little bit smaller, so that basically you might not be able to reach the $1 million within a year, but it's very possible to reach it within 4 or 5 years. In fact, if you read the red book, you'll say that if you are a rookie or just starting off, you'll probably take you about 10 to 15 years before you make $1 million. So at least we are putting that in a perspective for those that want to make $1 million in 1 year. It depends on which stage you're at. Let me start basically by looking at some of the understanding of models. Why follow a model? Because basically Gary Keller, when he started off, he really said this. He went for Tony Robbins' session and read some of his books and realized that basically success leaves clues. People who produce at a high level of success at something, they do specific things to produce their results. And this is called modeling. And following the red book is actually modeling after someone that is effective or successful. In fact, if you look at the right side, it says Gary asked top agents, what would it take to net $1 million in personal income? He asked the question in the year 2002, almost 20 years ago. Because he asked that question and he got the people together in a mastermind group, that's where they came up basically with a way to do that, so that they can actually go in and really look at producing $1 million. And we have seen a lot of those $1 million producers in our international sessions over the last couple of weeks. So success leaves clues. So we need to figure out what they actually did and then how to copy them and produce, and say the same results. This is called modeling. The other thing to look at is basically when you look at models, results don't produce results. Just because basically you look at Gary Keller and say that, I want to be like him, results don't produce results. Basically, just by saying I want to be like him doesn't make me a millionaire or a billionaire. Actions produce results. And models are strategic actions based on someone else's actions that got the desired results you want. So if you want the same result as those people that are doing $1 million, just start following their models. Do what they do. Important to just pause it and think through, because otherwise you are taking the red book and says, I bought the book for $100, the red book, and by reading the book one, I'm going to go in and see results. Now that is just the beginning point. You're beginning to grow in the knowledge to know what to do. You know that it's possible to do $1 million. You know basically there are steps that you can follow, but actions produce results. What actions are you taking to make sure the results come in? And that's why today when we go to the economic model, we are starting to take the right action to figure out how that $1 million is going to come about. So the word to note is models are strategic actions based on someone's action. So follow those people that are successful. So today, basically, for example, if you look at Gary Keller, we know he's successful. Look at someone that's close to where you're at. Who are the people that you have around you that are already successful, making 100,000? Now, if you are going in and you're starting off making 100,000, maybe the goal that you have. Now, if you're already making 100,000, then look around and say, who is it that's around you that you know that's making 200,000, 300,000, and model after them. And same with those that are making 300,000, 400,000, who can you follow that can make higher? Okay, so you want to make sure the people you're following, they're actually producing results at that level, so that their systems actually is proven. So follow a model that is proven, not just any model. Now, today basically the Jonathan likes to go in and make and say that basically he's cutting on Starbucks. Now I followed the model and I created the best coffee mix. I think it's better than Starbucks. Well, rather it's equivalent to Starbucks. I don't have the same coffee bean that they have, but I think the price is pretty much 10 times cheaper. And you can buy it from any of the Empire Shop one, but you need to select the right packaging. Basically what I use is Old Town White Coffee, but Old Town White Coffee got a lot of brands. So you need to decide basically whether select the one basically with a little bit less sugar. They have one that's a bit more sugar. They have one that's 25 grams sugar. Now that makes a coffee. Now if you want a charm, you take the coffee and add another package of the ham. Basically it's coffee mix. That one basically is 2-in-1, not 3-in-1. That one is the right combination. You mix the tea with I think it's 35 grams of sugar plus the coffee 2-in-1 together. You'll have a very good blend of charm that you want, that you like. Very similar to the one in Starbucks. But what is missing is that I also put in fresh cream. You need to know what kind of cream to buy and how much to pour into the cream. You also need to make sure that basically the cup that you use, at what level itself, basically you pour the hot water in so that you get the right mix. And then this has to be tested, that people that drink it say that this is good coffee. Now, what did I do? I didn't do any as a consumer. I just basically took products that's developed by someone and experiment with it. But for them to come with those packages itself, probably they went through a model to do that. But for me, it took me less than 30 seconds to open the two packages, put it together, put the right equivalent of milk, and then basically get the right cup with the right volume to do that. So anyone that basically wants to do that one now, if I've done it, I can show you how to do that. That's what the model does. It gives you a pattern on what to do. And maybe today, if I can share how to make the best bee-hoon, springy, or the best basically half-boiled egg. Because I realize when you go out and eat, the half-boiled is expensive. But there's a way to actually do it that is cheaper. Let's look at the next slide. My slide is not moving. I want to spend a bit more time to help us understand models because it's important. Economic model can be done in 15 minutes, but not knowing why you need a model would defeat the purpose basically of just doing it because you have the result, but you don't know what to do. Which business has a more stable foundation? The one on the left side or the one on the right side? And the one on the left side one, if it is more stable, why is it more stable? There are two things that one is models, one is creativity. The reason why the one on the left side is more stable is because it's flat. It starts with a model and then you apply creativity. Most people, when they do something, they don't start with models. They start with creativity. They try and figure out what is the best way to do it. And then every year they decide maybe to change it a little bit. They don't go long enough to figure out basically whether it's proven or it actually works. That one is an unstable model because it cannot be repeated, okay? The one on the right side is unstable because it starts with creativity, but it doesn't have a model. What we want is follow the left side model, follow the proven models, and then later on, you figure out how to be more creative. And today, I'm seeing a lot of agents being more creative with videos because they realize that videos are effective. You know, and this morning, basically, when I went in, I think Jonathan Quack is there also today in this particular call. He basically talked about education. Interesting, but it'll be nice if Jonathan can invite me to some of his sessions. I would love to learn from him how to conduct those education as lead generation tool, because like what Matt Tita says, education is the new lead generation. But this model itself gives us business stability and a breakthrough strategy to higher achievements. Model also serves as a reference point. If you're wrong, you know where you go back. Okay, now, let me go a little bit more into these two areas. Now, this chart you have seen a lot. Breakthrough to higher achievement, E to P. Now, this is important because you can easily take the easy way or the painful way. And this chart itself is saying that today, if you want to succeed at a high level, you need to be more purposeful. You cannot take the easy way, which is a natural way. For example, for you to produce 200,000 could be very easy for you. That is your natural achievement ceiling over here. So every time I go in, for you to achieve that one is not a problem. But again, it's for you to break through. You need to look at new models, a foundational models to go through to allow you to break through. And once you break through that ceiling itself, then eventually to break through the next ceiling, you might to add creativity. Look at improved models. What can we do today to break through so we go to a higher ceiling? And again, I'm encouraged basically by even what the K Taliban has done with us in Malaysia together with Refill, looking at virtual training and doing it over the last basically 2 or 3 months is amazing because we follow someone else is doing it, applied it, fail forward, and then begin to break through and see results from there. So for you, the same thing. For you to see results, you must have this mindset that you need to go in and be more purposeful and not natural. Huh? Every one of us have a ceiling. We need to figure out how to break through that. The other one is the purpose for model is that the model is a straight line on the left side. The model itself is very clear. The dotted line is creativity. You do anything, beginning with models versus beginning with creativity. We need to begin with models because if it's creativity, basically it's the one on the right side one. You start basically with this dot here and you try for a month and realize that basically the way you do open house doesn't work. You change a little bit towards the right and then you begin to move on. After 1 year, you try open house, you realize that maybe it doesn't work and you begin to look at other ways to do it. Eventually you end up on the top here. Now the question is that you don't have a reference point to go back. The reason for a model is that it gives you a very clear reference point like this straight line on the left side here. Whenever you fail or you're not sure why you're succeeding, you have a way to go back to a point that allows you to begin to move forward. That's why the models are important because models allows you to break through to a higher ceiling and model give you a reference point. You know why you are doing and where you went wrong. Without a model or pro model, you're not able to do that. I hope at this point you all can actually follow because all I did is basically help you understand models are important. Now, how many of you attended this guy, the Michael Brand session? If you have, put a yes on the chat box there. And if you have learned something, type down what you have learned there. Okay, because it's a recap for some of you have attended. If you have not attended one, I encourage you to go in and especially if you're part of a Refill Properties one, you can actually go to the Google Drive and review those sessions. Okay, for those that have not attended any sessions, we have a sessions coming up this Wednesday by Jane Rivers. It is very good. You must sign up for that, okay? Because every session that you go through, you must write down what you have learned. And so for those that have not attended sessions, let me basically share with you what Michael shared with us on that night. There are two things that he shared. And the first thing he shared is saying that, you know, what is our number one asset? Now, Michael Brand itself is not just anybody. He has 25 years experience in real estate. He's the regional director of KW in New York, Tri-State City. He's an OP of a few market centers, I think it's 4, launched 4 of the most successful market centers in Keller Williams today. And I think basically when he said that, I remember he said he was actually running an agency of about 8,000 to 10,000 agents. Now, for someone that's running the business at that level, do you think they are making more than $1 billion or not? Success leaves clues. If he has done it, we can learn from him. I have not achieved that standard, but I would like to learn from him how to do that. And what he did is that one thing that I've learned, these people that shared, they are sharing things that are so basic, but the only difference is that they are applying it in their own lives. And the things that they share, I can understand because a lot of the trainers have been teaching it. That's where you'll be learning as you go through the training. A lot of things that they mentioned, you've heard before. The only difference is that they're actually applying it. You have not. That's why we're going to go back and say that action produces the result. Results don't produce results. And success leaves clues. These are people that are successful that we can learn from. And it starts basically by saying this tip. Let me get my chat box out. I just closed my chat box. Okay, then I can see a bit later. He shared basically 2 things. One is the time, and it's important because the number of weeks per year, there are 52 weeks per year, and normally they encourage that you don't work 52 weeks. Basically, you take at least 2 weeks holiday, -2, so a year there's 50 weeks in a year. And then you look at the number of hours you work per week, 5 days, 8 hours is equal to 40 hours. So if you basically 50 weeks at 40 hours, now that means 40 hours, 5 days itself at 8 hours is equivalent to 2,000 hours per year. So based on 2,000 hours per year, if your income is 250,000, 250,000 divided by 2,000 will give you $125 per hour. So basically, let's say in this case, if I'm actually earning 250,000, my value per hour is 125,000. What is Michael Brand's value per hour? How much is he making? Those that knows it can actually write down. I'm trying to pull out my chat box a little bit. Let me get out from here. Okay, guys, let me share off my screen a little bit because I cannot see my chat box. Let me pull my chat box out again. Okay, let me share my screen back. Large screen. What is the value? What is the value per hour for Michael Brand? Those that can remember or was there, can you write in the chat box for me? How much is this value per hour? He mentioned US dollars, $8,000 per hour. It's quite close. He mentioned about close to $1,000, $8,000 US dollars per hour. Okay, that's quite high. I think what I heard is about 1,000. So maybe equivalent itself could be, but his predicting is a very high level. And he shared an example because his predicting is a high level. It doesn't make sense for him to do certain things that cost less than what he's actually he's worth. And that's why the first thing that you realize is basically you need to know the 80-20 rule. 20% activities produces 80% of result. Lead generation is the top 20% activities that you need to do. And that's why basically the two things I learned from him: know the value of your time, and basically and the second thing is basically know the 80-20 rule. Know your 20% priority. What are the things that you need to do that you get you the results that you want? And lead generation is definitely in your top 20%. Now, if you look at the Red Book one, this is one thing. Now, if you are not following the model and you are doing it your own way, that is using creativity or learning from anybody else or any guru that you know, then basically you end up basically building a business that is like a hobo shack, built on a patchwork of creative ideas, but not stable. No foundation, no reference point. As a result, when you fail or you're not successful, this year might be successful, next year not successful, you don't know where to go back and restart. But if you build a house on a solid foundation, proven platform, then you'll be like the house in the right side, strong foundation. So models are important. Just to recap today, just the last 10 minutes one, learn from people that are successful. Things that they share are things that they are using. Michael Brand just shared two things that I learned. He shared quite a number, but the two things I put down is the fact that your time is important. And second, basically, know your 20% priorities, the things that you need to do. If you do that, then you just follow the model. Don't try to do your own way. You build a house on solid ground. That's the first thing that we need to know. Now, the second thing, basically, once you get it in place, understand the importance of models, but just not any models, but proven model. Now, in this case, for real estate, you follow the Red Book. If you want to do something else, then you find other people that are skillful and learn from them. The second
George,
one
can
is
I add something here quickly? Can I add something?
Yes, Jonathan. Yes, please.
So let me give a classic example of how when a person who is not in model or doesn't have a clear model, he's very creative. And this the classic example is this. When you ask them, and in order for us to find that out, for me, it's very simple. I ask this simple question. I'll ask them, how many listings do you have? And if you study their listings, if their listing is everywhere, right? Everywhere, or it is not segmented. Let me give you an example. If you are a person that focuses in industrial property, yeah, then it makes sense. Maybe I got factory in Sungai Buloh, I got factory in Shah Alam. That makes sense because it's a very niche market. But if you're a residential agent and you're holding a listing in Wong Kiara, holding a listing in Kuching, holding a listing in Kota Kinabalu, holding a listing in Ipoh and all that, right? Now I'm just kind of illustrating that in an exaggerate mode. But generally, a lot of agents, they don't have the clarity of where their business and what is their business. What is your business is the most important question you must ask yourself. And in today's market, you got to be really very hyper local and very specific in how you should be doing your business. Not following everyone, not doing what everyone is doing, but understand your business so clear that you know that a lot of things are distractions. So when I ask you questions like, is Port Dickson a listing that you want to work on? a person who is in model would either ask me a question, what kind of listing is that? Very specifically, or they will straight away say no, because that's not going to help me in my goal. And that's a sign of an agent who is in the model of an economic model. Very clear. If you are selling real estate in industrial, if there's a new house for you to sell or a condominium in Sri Petaling, you will likely to say no, because it is a distraction for you. So this is just an example of why having a model is so critical, so that you won't be doing so many things and achieving nothing. I just want to bring that perspective up, because I see still a lot of agents, they try to do everything because they are not foundationally clear of how their business look like. And the economic model helps us to do that. I just want to use that example, George, because I see that happening, prevailing a lot. Yeah, go ahead, George.
Thanks a lot, George, for sharing that. Okay, it's important, because if you don't have a model, please find a model, because that'll be the starting point. The second thing, basically, when you look at the economic model or even any model, is to begin with the end in mind, because making $1 million is not a small goal. So it's important for us to understand, is the setting a goal that's very big, is it important? I like this illustration that's put in by Gary Keller, because that helps me to visualize basically why it's important to have a goal that is not too small, but a goal that's bigger. Now, I'm not a mountain climber. I don't climb mountains, but basically the illustration said, today if you're a mountain climber, I know basically some people that climb mountains. Now, when they climb mountains, there are a lot of preparation required. So today, if my goal is to climb Mount Kinabalu in Malaysia, and in that one, the height for the mountain is about 13,440 feet. Now, if that is my goal, that I want to climb the Mount Kinabalu within the next 1 year, then I'll go into preparation to make sure that I can do that. That means I'll find basically people that have climbed that mountain before. I'll go into preparation, I'll watch videos, I'll read books I will go into a little bit of training to climb basically Mount Kinabalu. Now imagine basically if I want to climb Mount Kinabalu, but I decide to set my goal as Mount Everest in Nepal. Now Mount Everest one is a lot higher, 29,028 feet. And the preparation that I will do to climb Mount Everest, do you think it's going to be easier or more difficult than the preparation required for Mount Kinabalu? It is definitely going to be a lot more difficult, because when you go up to the top level one, the oxygen level is different. And people have died climbing up to Mount Everest. In fact, they can reach up there, but they might not make it back. So it's a more dangerous climb if I choose Mount Everest as my goal. But the thing is this, if I do all the preparation to climb basically the Mount Everest, and I only reach halfway, the base camp, and the base camp elevation is 17,500 feet. Imagine even if I reach half of that mountain, I would have reached my goal, because my goal is only 13,440 feet. And by climbing half of Mount Everest, the base camp, I will be almost close to 4,000 feet higher than my goal. That's why it's important to set a goal too high, because most of us set a goal that's too small, and our goals are very easy to reach. When our goals are bigger, it pulls you through your present goal. Most people, when they don't reach their goal, they change their goal. The key is to make sure they have a goal that's realistic, but then from there, you begin to decide how you want to achieve that goal. And again, we will talk a little bit about what is a realistic goal that you can set. Now, this example is to help you understand the preparation that you need to prepare to climb Mount Everest is more difficult, more challenging. Take a bigger one, because it's very key. And later when you look at the thinking process, you understand why that the habits that you build when you climb basically a difficult mountain is the same habits that you have to achieve your goal. Let's go to the next one. 8 ways that millionaire real estate agent thinks. Now, this one is in the red book itself. The basically one, you need to go in, and he mentioned basically 8, sometimes 9 things right now. They changed a little bit because MREA is coming up with a second book. The first 2 are foundation, the rest basically are supporting. That's why think powered by a big why and think big goals and big models are very important. It's important to take the time to think through the process, because the Matt Teeter, one of those guys that you shared that they shared on net, the need analysis, in this case, everything starts from a big why, because that thinking process affects how you will think. Your thinking affects your behavior affects your habit, and the habit eventually affects your result. So to achieve a high result one, you need to go in to think correctly, think at a high level, look at basically the behavior that's changing and then the habits that goes along with that. So the big why is a very important thing to look at. Now, I won't cover all this, but what I want to go in is to relook at this thing powered by a big why. It's important to look at a big why. The big why and a goal is different. Goal is something that you can put down, you know, but whether you do or you don't do is okay. But a big why is something that you put down and it's not an optional. You will do that. And if you don't have a big why, start with a small why and begins to build it up. Over time, you'll be actually having something that's inside that's very strong that says, this is the reason why I want to do what I'm doing. But today, most of us are starting, our big why is to make sure that we are financially free, we clear our debts, we provide for our family, we provide for a good education for our children. Those are the basics. If I can basically drive a slightly better car and able to go to places to eat that I enjoy, because even to go to a Japanese restaurant, eat the food with a family, easily will cost about $150 basic. You know, to go for any family meal with 5 people, $10 per head is already close to $50. $20 per head is $100. $30 per head is $150. $30 for a meal is not that expensive. So it's easy to go in and spend $150 just on a meal. So if one of the reasons is to take your family out basically on a regular weekly basis for a good meal, then you need to earn the money to actually do that, okay? It doesn't have to be a big one, but smaller things that goes in and say that you might want to go in and have something that you like. So start with a big why, think through this because this is very important. The other one is to look at it is now, this chart is to think big goals and big models. If you notice the line basically is on production and time. If your goal is to hit $100 million a year model, and I know basically Michael Brand has did that, he has hit $100 million in. Now, if I go in and follow the model and say that I want to be like him, earning $100 million a year model, I will need to have big habits. But today, my goal is only to look at $2.5 million. Now, the habit that I built in the initial 2.5 million at the bottom here is basically a subset of all the boxes here. What I'm growing here eventually will lead me towards my goal because I'm building the same habit to reach a $100 million goal. Think big goals and big models because if your goals are small, you will require a small model. But if your goals are bigger, the small models basically become subset like a staircase towards your goal. Now, when you go through and look at this one here, now this is something that we have covered before, the perspective and myth, because when you look at goals, you'll be very frightened, fearful. And some of the things that you'll come up basically is, for example, I cannot do it. And we know basically the truth is unless you try, until you try, you cannot possibly know what you can or cannot do. So don't limit the size of your goal. Avoid self-defeating inner dialogues that says that you cannot do it. Always begin with the belief that you just might do if you try. And some of the people you are locked in the workplace, you realize that Timothy told basically go in and share an example of someone. This person that he's coaching, you know, coaching after a couple of coachings, she's able to go in and lease a bungalow or rather 2 bungalows and close the 2 bungalows. And today maybe going on to the 3rd sale. With proper guidance and you go in and just try, it might just happen to you. Once you try and achieve one thing you thought you might not possible, it becomes easier and easier to see the impossible and then achieve it. Now, some of you basically might be watching a lot of movies. I love to watch movies. And recently, basically, I decided to watch one of my favorite movies, Lord of the Rings. The Frodo basically is the person, a hobbit. Now, he has this impossible task of destroying this ring. And he's not qualified. He don't know how to fight. He's small. Again, it's that to carry this weight itself when all the giants that's around him, you know, the Gandalf, the Aragorn, those people itself, they are afraid to do that and they are being influenced by the ring. But somehow for Frodo, his job is basically to go in and destroy this ring. If you go through a few series, you realize that, you know, at one point when you go in and they call it the Fellowship of the Ring, he stood out and said basically I will take responsibility to destroy this ring. I will do it. At that point in time, I don't think he knew what he was saying. But he took on the challenge and said, even if it's impossible, I will try. And after that one, the rest of the people came along and said that we will support you to help you reach your dreams. Don't just say, I cannot do it, try. Or the myth is saying that it's too risky, it'll cost too much money. I don't think I want to use Metapod because it's too expensive per month to pay. I'm not sure whether I'll get my return back. The truth basically about this is too risky is that risk is in direct proportion to how well you hold your incremental cost accountable to producing incremental results. You need to look at money not as an expense. We need to look at money as a investment. For every dollar that you put in, are you able to get $1 plus more, cost plus? So that is the truth. It's risky if you don't have a plan. If you're risky, if you simply do and spend money, it's not risky if you follow the model. Red light, green light. When it's red light, you stop. When it's green light, you go. You stick to a budget to do that, okay? And the third myth, basically one that I struggle with basically is that my clients will only work with me. Now I put this here is because if this is your thinking, you will not be able to leverage because you believe that you are the only person that can get a job done now. Question is, how many deals can you close a year? And one of the speakers says that there's one person, Ben Kinney, his team is closing 3,000 deals a year. Closing 1,000 deals is very impossible. Now today, an average person, I think basically close about maybe 10 to 15 deals if you are hitting a goal about 200,000 GCI. But if you are closing 1 to 5 deals, that means basically your numbers will be smaller. So to do that one, you need to leverage and believe that basically as a team, you can provide excellent service for your client. Your client aren't loyal to you, they are loyal to the standard that you represent. Now, let's just pause a minute here. I've gone through to say it's important to follow the model, and they need to have models that are proven. We're going to look at basically that it's important to begin with the end in mind. That means having a goal that is big, not small. The small goal is easily achievable. A bigger goal will stretch you. If you're climbing basically the Mount Kinabalu, have a goal of preparing for Mount Everest so that basically it will stretch you. And when you have that goal that is set, then basically you need to begin to get your thinking right. Know basically your big why. Why are you doing it? Why do you need this economic model? Why are you going in to achieve this goal? The motivation has been internal, not because the review asked me to do it, not because my coach asked me to do it, not because Josh says so or John says so, or what is your motivation? Are you doing it because you want to provide for your family and basically there's an amount you worked out that you must earn in order to close? And today, if you're not closing deal, the only way to close deal is to go out there, find good listings, work your butts out hard, and then trust God to close. And we know that basically closing you cannot control, but you can control the process. Today, economic model will show us the process to achieving a closing. And then we talk about this myth. They are basically more than this one. They're basically what will stop you from even taking a step forward. It could be because you believe that you cannot do it, or you think the risk is too high. Whatever the fear is, today you have a choice to choose. You can choose fear or faith, but you cannot have both. Either one. You decide. Today, are you going to be fearful or take a step of faith and begin to say that the goal that I've set, I will do whatever I can to achieve it. At this point here, any thoughts that anybody wants to share or John wants to share before I go in and look at the economic model, 4 of them, and look at basically how it can help us achieve our goal. Are you okay so far? Can still follow? Now, if you are learning things along the way, please feel free to put into the chat box. I think there's some messages. I didn't scroll my message down, so I couldn't see. Sorry. Okay, 7 new message down there. Yes, I agree. Thank you. Your big why may not be necessary your GCI target. It could also be market dominance, your children, social influence. Marcus, correct. The good point there. Your big why, again, does not have to be monetary. It could be motivated by other reasons to do that. Okay. Murphy and Hajina agrees with that now. Let's look at the 4 foundational models. And I want you to start thinking through. Today, you're not an agent, or not a solo agent. If you are doing alone, you're an agent. But you're not an agent per se. You're actually a business owner. Your mindset is changing. They say today, if you're running a business, how will your business become successful? We just went through COVID-19 and a lot of people are questioning, is the business I have worth continuing? Or should I close it down? And for those that are still in Subang One, you know that basically a lot of bubble tea shops open up before the MCO, but today a lot of them are struggling because rental is high and they don't know where the customers are coming in. So that business is not going to work if they continue to keep it retail. And I'm glad basically to say that the refill have decided as a whole that we are going 80% digital, 80% digital and 20% physical, which means for those that want to come to the market center too, you have no parking problems. You can just zoom in as long as you don't, get so tired of zooming, because sometimes I love to see live people. It really helps. I'm a high I, yeah? I want interaction, I want contact and touch. Zoom cannot feel, cannot touch. So you have to put in a chat box to make sure how things are going. Now, the 4 models are important right now. The first model is economic model. But to run a business, you need more than just one model. You need the economic model, the lead generation model, the budget model, and the organizational model. And so the economic model is a formula that shows you how to plug in specific numbers you have to achieve in a specific areas to achieve a specific net income. Basically, it's a formula. A plus B plus C will equals to the result that you want. So if you want to earn that money, what are the things that you need to do? What are the specific numbers you must hit? What are the specific areas that you need to go in and work on in order to see the results that come in? So it's a formula. Lead generation is to how to build a database and systematically communicate to the database to generate a specific number of leads. And this is what we'll cover tomorrow, because once you know the economic normal, what are the things you need to achieve, then tomorrow basically when you go into lead generation, you look at the model to understand how to do that. And tomorrow when I share, I won't just look at the models because the model keeps changing. Even the messages and the content, the message and the method one the same, but message keep changing. But a lot of you are very creative, look at different ways to communicate to the client. And I'll try to explain to you basically why, what is the reason why we need to have a database and why database is so important to have. Sometimes you want to go to command and technology without knowing why. So tomorrow I'm going to slow down and say, why do you need a database in the first place? Do you know what is a database? What do you do with a database right now? If you don't have that now, if I give you command and technology, you will not know what to do. So we'll cover that tomorrow. And then the budget model is important, and outline of the budget categories you should track and the percentage of gross revenue you should spend in each of those areas. And the last one is organization model, because when you begin to grow, you need to hire people, you need to train them, you need to consult them. If you don't do that one, then basically when you work with more than yourself, it's going to be a challenge, okay? So 4 foundational models to work on. We are only covering basically economic model today, just one of the models. Now the question is basically, most people starts from 1, 2, 3, 4. I'm going to say that basically when you start, the budget model is very important. That's why one of the ways to think basically for as a $1 million agent is that you need to think profit. One is a big why is to make money. Because if you don't want to make money, it cannot fund the life that you want. And this person that I know has given a very good advice. And some of you might know him, some of you don't know him. But if you don't know him, you'll be hearing a lot about him. And he basically defines a goal that I like. Let me pass this first. I like this person. Now, do you know this person? If you know him, please put his name down on the chat box. Now, I've tried to use technology to make John a little bit more, well, actually, he's getting close to the slimness that is in this picture. Because if you continue to go in and then he cannot go out and eat the things that he likes, he will definitely be half the size that they have. I think that is the goal that they have. And he shared this with all of us. One thing about slide that is going and my box are covering with a lot of things. Your goal cannot be lower than your expenses. It must be able to fund the life that you want. Now, John, are you there or not?
Yes, I'm there. Yes, I'm here.
Now, this is yourself. Now, this is your goal. Can you explain? Is this really your goal? Is this what you said or not?
Yes, absolutely. I think this was one of the workshops we did with some of the agents. And a lot of times when people are set a goal, right, the purpose of the goal is not clear, or it is based on what is easy to do, which I get. It's okay to think like that. But man, my challenge is, if you are taking this as a career worth having and a business worth owning, then my question to you, if you're having a goal that doesn't give you the income that will help you achieve your basic necessity on an annual basis, on a monthly basis, on a weekly basis, then you are setting yourself up for failure. I repeat, if you are setting a goal, if you're setting a goal right now that is not going to fund your life on a weekly, daily, monthly, yearly basis, then you are already setting yourself up for failure. In order for you to set yourself up for success is when you set a goal that is going to be able to pay all your bills. Why I coach a lot of agents, a lot of them struggle paying bills is because the goal that they set, it is not in tandem with the life that they have right now. I hope I make myself clear. And people ask me, say, but that the 50,000 goal is a realistic goal. Then I challenge that, is this 50,000 going to fit and support your life and your family's life? If it's not, then I think you're setting an unrealistic goal. You shouldn't set a goal. We shouldn't set a goal from what is easy. We should set a goal that is necessary. Now, in the region of Malaysia, I'm responsible to set the goal for the country. And I cannot set a goal that is, I cannot go and tell my team, let's do something that's easy. But if it doesn't bring in the revenue and the dollar signs that pays all our bills, everyone's salaries, expenses, right? Then as a leader, I have set a goal to fail. I have set our lives and our business to fail. The only way you can do this is to make sure you know what's in your budget, what's your necessary expenses in life on the weekly, daily, monthly basis. And then you set a goal for your business to achieve that. Because if that business cannot achieve to pay those bills, then that's not a good plan. Does that make sense so far? And it's very challenging for us to think like that, because what may happen is it becomes very scary. It becomes very scary because then we realize, oh shoot, my life expenses is actually 8,000 ringgit a month, and my goal now is only to earn 3,000 ringgit a month. And you have a 5,000 deficit, and you ask yourself, how am I going to find that 5,000? And you know what agents end up doing? Let's go and look for another business that can fill in that 5,000 ringgit gap, while they could just be selling one property to fund the 8,000 ringgit. Does that make sense so far? So that's why when we set a goal, this is a fundamental. In order to set a realistic goal, your goal must not be lower than your expense. It must be able to fund that life that you want right now. Right now, okay? So I'm talking about the basic necessity. And once you hit that basic necessity, you start thinking, maybe I want to do better this year. I want to start planning for my children's education in Australia in the next 10 years. Then you start thinking like that for the next year. So you got to start right first. The realistic goal is that your business must fund your life. If your business is not funding your life, my question to you, why are you in business? Right, back to you, George.
Good point, John, because it is important, because we know we are going through a market shift, and the key is to cut expenses to survive. That means to the point that basically you can actually manage. And once you're able to do that, the second one is basically look at how to thrive. So that you can look at your money and then invest it wisely, so that you can go in and get in the higher return than the money that you put in. Okay, so start with making sure your expense is above, your goal is above your expenses. Second is basically look at the life that you want and figure out how to actually earn that. Okay, now the other thing that is important to look at, now they've got it in place, your thinking is correctly. Now some slides that I actually skip one. This one is the total income. I use 60-20-20, cost of sale, operating expenses, and then the net income. Now under the MREA, the $1 million one, they actually use 30-30 and then 40. Because when you go in and produce at a higher level, your overall operating expenses and the cost of sale will actually be higher, because you're looking at basically maybe a higher salary, you're hiring people to do that. But as a solo agent one, I generally will say that this should be where you're at. That means 20-20-60 or 30-15-60, but generally to put your income at a slightly higher level, 60%, and then look at your cost of sale and your expenses no more than 40%. On the economic model now, let's look at the economic model right now. What exactly is the economic model? It is your equation for success. It is a formula that describes the way your business works and the relationship between a series of activities and basically a specific outcome that they want to produce. Okay, it's a formula. That means if you follow this formula, you'll get it. A plus A equals to the result there. The other thing is that the economic model also allows you to reverse engineer the process. Start with an outcome and find the specific actions you must take to produce it. Most of us are saying that, but I don't know what the future is like, so I don't know what to do. But within economic model is saying that I know what I'm going to produce in 1 year's time, 3 years' time, 5 years' time, 10 years' time. Now, based on what I want to see happen in my business, I work backwards and see what must I do today, what must I do this week, what must I do this month, the following month, this year, the third year, the fifth year, in order to reach the goal that I have. You can reverse engineer the process based on this economic model. So the problem is that most of us have an economic model, but economic model is not sound. And unsound economic model means that basically you don't know where the money is coming from, you don't know where the money is going, and you don't know how much money is left. A sound economic model means that you know actually where your money is going to, you know basically how you spend your money, and you know basically how much profit you have left. And the problem that most economic model that people follow is based on activities. I do a lot of things. If I just do more things itself, I will be productive. Activity itself does not equate productivity. Activity with no projected outcome attached to it. That means we are doing a lot of activities, but we don't put a goal or something to attach to that so that it becomes more tangible. Why am I doing those activities? Just like John mentioned, basically, if I'm going to go in and take a listing in Port Dickson, I must know that activity itself is going to help me reach my goal. Today, for example, if you're going in and say that you want to go in and achieve a higher value, then you must look at basically, well, maybe the second slide will help. Let me go through that before I explain that. So this is how I define the economic model, okay? It's an equation, a formula. You can follow it, you can reverse engineer it, and then it has a goal attached to it. And the things that you do make sense because it'll help you reach your goal.
Hey, can I add something here,
Yeah,
George?
please,
I think it's
John.
very important. The problems with most economy though is based on activities with no projected outcome. So I want you all to quickly, in this next 30 seconds, you should be having appointments on your calendar. If you open up your calendar right now, or you can open up your calendar right now, either it's a physical calendar, it's a diary, or it's on a Google calendar. Look at that calendar right now. For the next 1 week, ask yourself this question. Things that you write down on the calendar, is it going to bring you income in the next 30, 60, 90 days? Whatever activities you are doing, it could be a listing that you're going to meet an owner, it could be a buyer that you're going to meet. And you're going to ask yourself these questions. Is those things you put in your calendar is going to bring you income in the next 30, 60, or 90 days? If it's not bringing you income, my question is, why are you doing it? Why? Why is it on your calendar? How is that helping you in the next 30, 60, 90 to bring income? And I asked this question to my regional team as well. I have a 30, 60, 90 plan. And we ask ourselves this question, if we do this activity for the next 3 days, how is that going to bring us income to the company? So same thing for your business. In the next 30, 60, 90, in your calendar, whatever you're planning to do, ask yourself, how are you going to make income in the next 30, 60? Because our business is not one day. George don't go on an appointment today and close a sale today. He wouldn't know, right? But you know, if you work on the right listing with the right buyers, it will normally bring you a cycle of 30, 60, 90 days transaction, right? So you must ask yourself this question, what are the things that I'm doing right now that's going to bring income to me in the next 90 days? And that's very critical, because a lot of agents, they just go do everything, right? So if you sit down and ask this question in your calendar, in your diary, if I lead generate for 3 hours a day, who am I supposed to call and what am I supposed to do in my call that will help me bring income the next 30, 60, or 90 days? If you think through this right now, that's where the economic model is there to guide you. And you ask yourself this question. Some of the coaching that I do with agents, they actually need 9 transactions a year only to hit their goal of 300,000 because of the value of the property they are focusing on. I've got an agent I'm coaching right now. She's already working on 4 deals that will bring her 70% of a transaction of a goal right now. So my question to her, if you are working on these 4 deals and you've got 7, 8 buyers working on this, why are you speaking to someone who's selling something in another place? How is that helping you right now? Right? I hope that gives a perspective for everyone. Yeah, back to you, George.
Yeah, thanks for sharing that, because we don't want this just to be a knowledge-based, but also practical. And so John basically is giving a lot of practical examples because he's coaching agents through the process to know how to actually do that at a high level. Huh? Now, if you don't have an economic model, you can use a CGI calculator. Now, some of you might not know what's the CGI calculator. It's a tool that allows you to go in and key some numbers in, and then it will show you basically some things, basically your profit itself, your appointments, your listings taken, and then the listings closed. Okay, so if this tool is available, you can log in and you do that. At this point, command is not part of command yet, but you can go in and use some of the tools that market centers have, through Excel, or actually maybe I'm not sure what's the best way to connect that, but you can do that. But my point is this today, after using the CGI calculator and calculating those numbers, what does that number means to you? How many of you remember the numbers of basically 5 of your friends that you call today? Now, most of you basically have stored them under a name. You cannot remember number. Hopefully you can remember 1 or 2 numbers. In case that you're in emergency, you can do that. So CGI calculator, the same thing. You can go in and key in some numbers. What I realized is that those numbers don't mean much to the person that did it because they did not own the result. You know, I'm doing it for the sake of doing it. If I don't like it, I just change the numbers. What I'm encouraging you to do basically as we go through economic model is to take out a piece of paper. And as I'm going through, you also will write down your numbers and see how your numbers will match up. Okay. So that basically you will go in and internalize yourself that by the end of today, is this the goal that you want to do? And then with that numbers, you can talk to someone to actually help you out. Okay. Start with the CGI calculator, but don't rely on it. Internalize it to make sure that it's okay. So the first thing is that you need to go in and understand this economic model basically makes sense because it shows you where your money is coming in. It shows your expenses. Gross, you have this gross close income. Let me pull my screen a little bit smaller because it's blocking my view. Okay. Gross close income, CGI, cost of sale and operating expense. So some of you might be asking, George, what exactly is the cost of sale? Now the cost of sale basically, cost of sale is also an expense, but cost of sale in this definition will mean basically the co-agency fee that you put in, the referral that you give to give out when you actually close the deal. Again, it's royalty that's put into that's already covered by the company will give the portion there. So those are the cost of sale when you go in and transact one, especially if it involves another agent. The operating expenses are basically expenses that you will spend personally on the business. That means they'll include basically in this case your salary, your rental, your transportations, your phone bills, your whatever expenses that you do and you spend. Now, if you take the GCI minus the cost of sale minus the expenses, then the net income will be the profit that you actually will have. Okay? So all of you need to have that. What is your GCI? What is your expenses? So as a guide that I mentioned earlier, if it's personal, use 60-20-20. 60% is your net income on the profit, and then the cost of sale and the expenses will be 20-20. So they want to come up with your GCI. Okay. Let me go to the next slide. Now this one is basically the economic model, the economic numbers. To do the economic numbers, you must also basically look at which market or type of properties am I doing? Like Jonathan mentioned, some of the people reach their goal by only closing 5 deals. Some of them reach their goals by closing more. And the question is how many deals or units you must close is determined by basically the commission you get. So for example, the formula itself is saying that average sales price times the average commission rate. I'm actually focusing more on Subang side. So average sales property one is between 500,000 to 700,000. Sometimes you get 1%, sometimes 2%, sometimes 3%. So what I've done is use an average sales price of 500,000 because some of the guider cost is going for about 400 plus one, and an average commission rate of 2%. So if the sales price is 500,000 times 2%, every time I close a deal, the average commission I get is 10,000. Okay. Now, if based on if the average commission itself, commission earned is 10,000 per deal, I will need 100 units to reach my goal. Okay, because now if your average commission earned itself is 20,000, then to get 20,000 is just 2% of an average sales price of 1 million. That means every deal you close on, the average commission you get is 20,000. You need 50 units to close. Now the point to look at it is this: when the value of commission goes up, the unit actually goes down. So if you want to go in and close less units, you need to actually look at properties that are more expensive, higher value. If you're closing properties that's $5 million, 1% is 2% is. So in some ways, that is the gauge. Where are you at? What market or type of properties are you doing? Will determine basically the number of units that you actually be working on. Okay. The other one is to in the economic model, there are three key focus areas that we will be discussing today. The first one is basically focusing on the critical levels of your business. Second is focus on the appointments, and the third one is focus on conversion rates. Focus on the critical levels of your business. There are 4 things that are important in the business you're doing. In this case, one is your real estate business. The first one is listing appointments. How many listings appointments are you having? So that when you go for the appointments one, you can actually go in and get a listing. Now, listing tickets are signed agreements between you and the owner. You go for 1 appointment, 2 appointments, 3 appointments. Eventually, one owner gives you 1 listing to actually sell. So how many listings, appointments are you going in order to get listings? Now today, how many listings do you have? Now, if you don't have a lot of listings, then you need to build that up, because if you don't have listings, then basically, you know, the chances of actually closing is slimmer. Once you get a listings, you must have a wall of value. That means looking at basically what is your value proposition? What can you provide the sellers and owners, such that basically when you take the listings, you can ensure closing. Listings plus wall of value, listings taken plus wall of value equals to closing. So when you close, you must manage your closing properly so that it will generate profit. And this profit basically is the profit that you net. That means the GCI minus the expense becomes the profit. So at any point in time, you are tracking these 4 areas: your listing appointments, your listing takens, your closing, and your profit. And then always look at basically what value can you add, so that basically you know to your owners yourself, so that you can actually go in and help them close faster. So today, most of us people are looking at virtual. So Metapod is one of the value you can add to owners, to allow people to go in and do a viewing online without actually physically going into a property. And today, this morning, I was having a conversation with some of the 3 of the other coaches, and one of the coaches asked this. She said basically 2 of my buyers were asking me, can you provide a visual walkthrough of your property before I actually decide whether to view or not. So buyers are asking that. Now, if you are getting buyers to ask that, because the trends are changing. People are saying that, you know, if I don't have to go and it's risky to go, can I look at a property and what it's like before I decide whether I even want to take the next step? So you might need to look at ways to increase on your video creation. So they do videos that are not too expensive, but appropriate to the property that you're actually selling. Okay, so the 4 critical levels you look at. And then you need to learn to basically look at the appointments. How many appointments did you have last year? What is your appointments? How many appointments do you need to have every month? If you are a team, how many appointments you need to have together as a team? If you are an agent, you're doing alone, how many appointments did you do this week? Do you have a way to track that? Is anyone holding you accountable to the number of appointments they need to have? I set my appointments to be 3 appointments a week based on the goals that I want to achieve. And because everyone in the training is saying double down, double down, double down. So I say instead of 3, I'm going to do 6 appointments a week. Because I also believe that I need to stretch my goal. It's okay, there are 6 appointments. If I miss by half, get 3, I'm still on track to achieve my goals. Is it possible at 6 appointments a week? Not impossible. I think people are doing more. This week itself, I had about 5 appointments. In fact, yesterday was another one. Friday, Saturday, Sunday, these 3 days, basically my appointments are there. Appointments to meet with buyers, mainly with buyers at this point in time. Okay, so, but appointments keep me on track. Question in your mind is, how many appointments did you do last year? If you don't know, take a wild guess, huh? Because we need to know basically what you're tracking. Some of you might know this person, Tom Ferry. Now, basically, this is a chart that's produced by him, not by me. And he basically he calls this a circle of focus. Most of us start the day with drama. You know, we go through our normal drama and getting ready with our kids or family, whatever. You know, go to the coffee shop, get our drinks, start the day like that. Eventually, we go into the company itself and say, we are starting to look organizational. We start talking with people, working through with them and see what are issues and what are the problems they need to solve. And then begin to start talking about contacts and people that you need to call, you know, and then basically people that you need to reach out to. And then it started going, I said, well, maybe I need to go in and do a lead generation for 2-3 hours. And the leads itself will give me the appointments. Now, most of us do 1, 2, and 3. If you do 1, 2, and 3, will you hit your dollar sign or not? The most important circle in this particular chart itself, which is the most important circle that you must do? Write down in the chat box. Drama, organization, talk with contacts, leads, appointments. Which are the most important circle that you must do in order to see the dollar sign? Okay, some say leads, some appointments, set appointments, lead generation, appointments. So a combination of lead generation. Now, lead generation generally means to set appointments. So the key thing to notice that if you're actually in US and you can buy leads. Over here, basically you can buy master leads to look at basically how to contact owners. So contacting owners is not a problem. Hopefully you're not spending all your day doing drama, you know, and what a drama or getting involved with watching too many movies. But the only thing to note is this: if you don't have appointments, you will not have any closing. That's it. So the focal basically that's measurable is appointments. If you have appointments, you'll get you closer to your dollar sign. We can all talk about leads, but leads itself without appointments will not allow you to get to your dollar sign. Eventually, the goal for lead generation is to set appointments so that you can actually close. Okay, there's a process to go through. So keep that in mind. Appointments are very critical to achieving your goals. Now this chart, because we are going in really maybe another half an hour more. Now some of you have seen this chart. This chart has been presented in many forms. I think some of the trainers have done an excellent job. I've learned and copied some of them to figure out how to do a better job in terms of presenting the economic model. So far, we have gone through about an hour talking about the models, talking about thinking correctly, because when Jonathan shared basically the 3 L's, lead, listings, and leverage, the 4 stages to move towards a millionaire real estate is that you must start with thinking. If your thinking is wrong, you cannot earn $1 million. And then you cannot net $1 million, you cannot receive $1 million. So the thinking process is important. That might be where you're starting. Are you thinking correctly? Is there any myth that's stopping you from achieving that goal? Go through, because that's where you're at. Now, if you get all those things through, then you need to figure out how to start earning. The economic model comes in. This is very important. Now, what I've done is I've set the net income to be 150,000, 60%. I've also set the GCI of 200,000, because to achieve basically the net income of 100,000, I must make sure that I have a gross commission income of 200,000. 60% of that is 150,000. Now this goal itself is double the goal of any capper, because to cap yourself, you only need 123,000. So if you have set a GCI of 250,000, you'll definitely cap if you reach half the amount. It's double the effort that you need to do. Now, I'm not saying that you cannot set higher. I'm not saying you cannot set lower, because you've heard people say that when they started off the journey, their GCI could be as low as 50,000. Now, whatever you set, realize that the goals that you set must be higher than your expenses. And eventually, a realistic goal that you set must be able to fund the life that you want to do. Okay, so just set any goal itself is not the key. You need to figure out what kind of lifestyle you want to have and strive towards that particular goal. Expense 60,000. So this one is basically the basic economic model. You know basically how much money you want to earn. You know how much money you need to spend, and then you know how much profit you need to have. So this one is key. So most people will have this and then they stop. What you need to do as an agent is basically follow through the second step. And that's why we did basically calculating the average commission per deal is 10,000, because it's actually 500,000 times 2%. If you can get 3%, it's 15,000. So the commission itself is a variable. If you can get higher, go for it now. But I say don't always go for 1%. That means if you go for 1% commission every time, your total number of units will double. So based on this one here, if you want a GCI of 203,000 and my commission is 10,000, 250 divided by 10,000, that means as long as I close 25 units, I will reach my goal of 250,000. Whether I have profit depends on whether I manage my expenses correctly. Hear me right, huh? Whether you have profit depends on whether you're managing your expenses correctly. Huh? That's why if you're not sure what I'm saying, go back to the book Shift, read tactic number 2, how to remargin your expenses, because it's very important to do that. Now, once you know the numbers itself, you need 25 listings to close, then you need to look at your conversion ratio. What is your success ratio to actually go in? Every time you get the listings, what is your conversion ratio to close the listing? And what I did is basically I put a conversion ratio of 25%. Now, under the MREA model itself, the $1 Million Real Estate Agent model, they use, today as a standard, they're using 75%. This conversion ratio can be higher. When I did the example with Michael Brand, that's what he says, basically my conversion ratio is too low, it can be higher. I'm putting one that's realistic, because today it's easier to take a listings, it's harder to close. Which means I want to have more listings taken to make sure that my listings are quality listings. And like I said, tomorrow I count a little bit, the quality is in the quantity. So if I have more listings from those listings, I will know whether those listings are good listings or not. And then if 25% itself, that means I need to have 100 listings a year in order to go in and close 25, if my conversion ratio is 25. So I hope you all can follow at this point. And the other one to look at it is the appointments. How many appointments do I need in order to go in and get 100 listings? For some of you, it could be, it can be very easy. Some of you are challenging. A question that the new people ask, basically, Josh, basically, I don't know who to call. Now, if you don't know who to call and you don't know what to do, I encourage you to join the Ignite class, because they go through 12 weeks to help you to go through from the beginning point, how to build a business, to developing the skills to work with seller, with a buyer, and then how to negotiate and close the deal. Even today, this afternoon, we're having an Ignite session to help the agents develop skills to work with seller. So if you are struggling, go in and join those classes and get some help. But I put down that basically it's easier to get a listing, so 50% conversion ratio. So I need 200 appointments a year to get 100 listings. And if I get 100 listings and begin to work on them, I'll have 25 closing. By 25 closing I'll be able to reach my goal. So what I did just now is just reverse engineered the economic model. Because I know the goals I want to achieve, I work backwards. It's never confusing. Means today I wake up and say, what exactly do I need to do? I know. I need, basically, if I break down further, I basically will need 20 appointments a month, 5 appointments a week. So if I do 5 appointments a week, I'm on track to basically reaching my appointments per month, on track to reaching my appointments per year. So I don't have to worry about the 200 appointments. I just need to ask myself today, do I have 5 appointments set up for this weekend? Today is Monday. You still have Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. Over the next 5 days, how can I generate 5 appointments to meet up with seller or buyers, either to get a listing or to close? If you don't have, that's where you will need to start. Okay. And lead generation will say that to get the appointments, you need to have more leads. Okay. So this is just saying that it's actually at the negotiation table to actually set the appointments ready. If you can follow so far, please type a yes. It's not difficult. Economic model is very simple. If you're thinking it correctly and you're thinking like a businessman, you realize that basically you need to know your appointments, your listings, and the key is you need to track these numbers. I'm going to jump. I'll show this chart tomorrow, but I thought that this is important to show because you might be asking today everyone is asking you to build a database. Everyone is saying, go and build a database, But the question is, what is the number of contacts or leads that you need to have in your database? If you are setting a goal to hit 25 now, let's say today my database got 200 contacts inside there. Contacts and leads the same. What I say is that in your database, the success ratio of those people repeat to buy from you or refer someone to you is about 10%. So for 200, 10% of that is 20. Out of 20 is, if the conversion ratio of those people is 50%, that means from a 200 database I can actually get 10 opportunities. That means 10 potential leads that I get that are good leads or good listings that I can actually close to reach my goal. Is this enough to hit my goal? Now, if my goal is 25, because I need 25 closing and go backwards at the 10-50% conversion ratio, I will need 500 contacts in my database in order to actually go in and hit my goal, because my goal is actually 25 units. And now my database only allows me to have 10. So what is the difference? I need to make up the difference. 500 minus 200 is 300. So I need to figure out a way to get another 300 contacts feeding into my database. So I have 500 contacts in order to reach my goal. So if you don't have the numbers, that's where you need to start. How to get those numbers. Okay. And tomorrow I say we'll go into more detail to figure out how we can actually walk through this process. And if you know of people that might benefit from this session, please invite them to come in, because these sessions again is there is no limit. The limit is about 1,000. Okay. 500 minus 200, 300 contacts short. And the other thing you need to look at that we have talked about is that in order to close the 25, you need to have 100 listings taken, and then listing appointments 200. And the conversion ratio from listing appointments to listing taken is 50%. Listing taken to listing close is 25%. So tomorrow we'll talk about lead generation. How many leads do you need to have in order to make sure that it fits this funnel to reach your goal? If you're not happy with your closing, how can you improve it? if you feel like your numbers are too small, how can you improve it? There are only a couple of variables based on the economic model we have studied. You can decide basically to change your market. Go for the market that's higher end so that your average price becomes higher. Or you can go in and improve on your commission and say, basically, I'm going to go in and tell the owner, if they don't give me 3%, I'm not going to work on the properties. You can do that. Or you can decide basically you want to improve your skill so that when you go in and get the appointments, your conversion ratio from appointments to listings is higher. And when you get the listings, your conversion, your skill is better to close them. So skills and dialogues, presentation, those are things you can learn. So if you invest in education and skill development, memorizing scripts, joint sessions that basically allows you to go in and get 4 people together and says, we want to do a huddle for 30 minutes to learn to just do scripting on scriptings. I need to know scripts that works. Whenever I go in and get the lead and I go in and I want to get appointments, I'm failing. What are the scripts that you need to have in order to go in and have appointments successful? That is something you can learn. You can get the right script, find the people that are successful, and then memorize their script and follow exactly what they say. And not just by words, their hand motions, their eye, their facial, because tonality and body language basically covers 95% of communication. You need to go in and involve everything to communicate to your clients so that you can actually close. That's why Zooming has advantages because people can see. Phone is only basically, it's limited because it's only by words. So you use technology Zooming, it will help your closing to be higher. Okay, let's move a little bit faster now. Some of you basically have seen this chart. I copied this chart from one of the trainers, and I like it because it gives a big picture. Now we have economic model. We have talked a bit about someday goals that eventually in 10 years time, this is what you want to do. We talk about the 5-year goals that you want, and we talk a little bit about a 1-year goal. The 1-year goal that I have basically is to make sure that I consistently go in and do a GCI of 250,000. And then I net a profit of 150,000. And I go in and make sure my expenses are managed so I can do that. Now, in order to reach my goal, what do I need to do? I need to track the process. So I need to figure out what is the GPS, what is the 411, and then I need to make sure I put my 20% productive activities into my calendar. Into my calendar. If it's not in a calendar, it doesn't exist. I want to go in and follow a system. I'll make sure that if I go in and commit to a training, I put that into the system so I don't miss it. And then those 80% task lists, those things are basically not essential ones. You do it later. Because 20% activities will produce 80% result. Again, we have learned that this 20-80 principle. Follow a flow chart. Do you have all these tools in place? Are you using a GPS? Do you have a 411? Do you have someone that's coaching you through? Do you have a 1-year goal? Do you know what are the top 20% priorities that you have? Are you still doing the 80% or are you actually doing the 20%? You need to start asking yourself or get someone to ask you those questions. I'm going to skip this because this is what I did basically to set a goal. So basically when you set the GPS one, it's the 1-3-5, the 1 goal, 3 priorities and 5 strategies. And again, it's that you look at basically priorities. For example, if your goal is to stay healthy and to lose 10 pounds, you look at 3 priorities. Watch what you eat, exercise, and basically track your result. So what I did basically in this case, cut down my teh tarik, cut down my char kway teow, less carb, no supper after 8 p.m. This will help me with the food. Now, exercise basically to make sure I walk 30 minutes every day. I'm not swimming, I'm not 10 minutes toning. So basically, I'm still doing number 1, walking 30 minutes every day. And then again is to track it. I maintain my weight, but my belt tells me that my belly is still growing because it's not toned. So it needs something to tell you whether you are healthy and not healthy, whether you're progressing. And how do I know that? Basically, one, I have actually not put on weight, but my toning is not there. Because when you wear your pants, your jeans, the jeans that I'm wearing is a stretchable jeans. So it can mislead me. My belt is not stretchable. My belt will not lie. And when you put yourself and stand on top of the weighing machine, the weighing machine, if it's not faulty, also will not lie. So have some indicators that will tell you the truth. Doesn't matter how you feel or say. In watching a weight, the weighing machine, the belt, the pants, they don't lie because they are fixed. I can tell myself I'm losing weight, but the facts will show me otherwise. And then this is the GPS. You take your economic model and put those goals into your GPS. GCI 250,000, profit, your monthly goals. So in this case, I know the appointments is 200 appointments a year, 100 listings I must take, and 25 closing. And break it down into the month and the week. So today, basically, my goal is to make sure that I would on a weekly basis, have 5 appointments. I must take 3 listings. I must try to close 1. That is basically what my GPS will tell me. Those 3 priorities you have to work through, and then the strategies. Now, if I have time, we'll show you some of my samples. 411 basically is your taking the GPS, going to 411, your goals, your monthly, and then you're tracking it weekly. It's important because when you track it weekly, you can realign and change. If this week I'm not hitting my goals, the next week I double the amount. If I'm not able to hit 5 appointments, only 4, next week itself, I will do 5 plus 1, I will do 6. If this week I cannot close a sale, next week I'll try to close 2. I can monitor that. And then you need a time block. And time block is important because if you don't time block yourself in the schedule, then basically what you will not follow. So I encourage you to time block lead generation 9 to 11 on a schedule Monday to Friday. And you attending training, in this case, Ignite 1, you time block it basically Monday 1, 2 to 4. Nothing comes inside this schedule because these are already blocked. If someone comes and says, Josh, can I meet up with you from 9 to 11 on Monday to Friday? My answer is always basically, can we meet at 11? Because I have something that is very important I need to do in the morning. Now, it doesn't mean you cannot change it. If you change it, replace it. We don't be so fast and rule, but the key is how to build the right habit. If you keep changing it, then the habit is not there. So the key is once the habit is in place, that is where you begin to see success. Today, a lot of people are not successful in the sub-sale or secondary market is because lead generation is not a habit. I applaud those in the Zeta team and also the FDRT and also there are many teams there, emerge team, because they've gone in and they don't have to worry about listings. They go in and get the agents all to do lead generation, something that's regular and habitual. You keep doing the same thing, eventually the results will come. You don't focus on the result, you focus on the process. If you do the process correctly, the result will come. So please do a time block and work out the schedule. I block my basically in 30 minutes block, it will help me. And then you need someone to ask you the 4 conversations, someone to keep you accountable to make sure that you are on track on your listing appointments, decision taken, closing, and profit. Accountability is important because individuals with written goals, 39.5% more likely to achieve it. Now, if you're individuals with accountability, 76.7% more likely to achieve it. Now, today, if you want to achieve a goal, do you want to be accountable? If you want to achieve a goal, if you're not written down, please get it right, written up because at least the success ratio is 40%, a lot higher. And there's a process to keep you on track if you want to be accountable. And then you must track your progress monthly also. That means basically you must know what is your actual and your goal. And these are tools that we already have that can actually go in and track you because these are tools that's developed by people that are successful. People like Michael Brand is using it to track it. One of the things I realized when one of the trainers was sharing is his 411 is so detailed because he's tracking it in a level that's different because his production is a lot higher. And then you need to make sure that all your appointments, that one is put into a pipe drive. You need to also manage your listing and your buyer's pipe drive. So you know the appointments, the name, the phone number, what they're looking for, what's the next step. And then you need to figure out how to rate them, categorize them. And tomorrow when we talk about lead generation, we'll talk about basically how to categorize those leads so that you know how to follow up with them.
Hey, Josh, I want to add one thing here.
Okay.
I think those successful agents we are seeing right now during MCO, they have a certain standard that they set in how they are accountable. So I am aware that some agents or some platform leaders set an accountability in when a lead is given to you through a lead generation campaign that they did either online or offline or whatever that is, they need to respond to the list within 15 minutes or 10 minutes. We are seeing one agent, I got a story from MC2 that this agent who's selling this project with yen called Seresta. And the last 5 days, she closed 6 transactions. And I think the volume that she's bringing right now is close to 9 million in the last 5 days.
Wow.
Because there's a model in terms of how they follow through, and she doesn't do anything else, just that. She's hitting her goals by just focusing on one thing. Now, I'm not saying all of us go sell their project. I'm saying that that's the example of why the economic model is so clear. And there's a certain standard, yes, it's Cheryl, there's a certain standard of how they set. When a lead comes in, what must happen? And how fast must you respond to that lead? And what do you do? And your goal is to get them into an appointment as soon as possible, right? can you imagine in this season, how many of you would think that having 6 bookings in 5 days is a great achievement? If you think that's a great achievement, please say yes. It's a very good achievement. So if I were you, I would ask them. I'll go and ask her this question: what's going on? Someone asked a question in the chat room. I remember. What do you eat? What are you eating that's giving you 6 transactions in 5 days? I say some superpower kueh raya. She's eating some nice, powerful kueh raya that's helping her to do this. But the reality is, it's very focused. It's very driven by economic model. It's very focused by a certain standard they put in their life, in their business. What's the standards in your business right now? How fast do you respond to a client? How fast do you get them into an appointment? If a call comes in, how fast do you respond, and how fast do you follow up, and how fast do you bring them into the appointment? So those are the things that's important when the economic model is very clear. Right? I just want to bring that out. This is a real life experience, the real life example that's happening right now.
Thanks for sharing, John, because this is just a couple more slides, then we're going for some ahas and sharing already. Just that I'm going faster because these are tools that you must have, because if I just talk about economic model, we're not going through this, then you're not sure how to, you know, how to get started. This is a sample of the 135, we'll skip that. Now, this slide basically thing is, this is one of the things, basically success is not a straight line. Success basically is slow, eventually it goes high. So the myth of success is basically one, if you go into day one, is actually a straight line, but the reality itself is to what you do today, the next year, the next 3 years, eventually the 4th year itself or the 5th year, it can go very high. So this is important to think through so that we persevere and we don't give up, because some of us basically give up too early. This is the last slide I'm going to share over here. Now, some of you know this person. Now, these are actually all people that are successful. This is Gabby that shared with us. I like basically her sharing. Her sharing basically is nothing, nothing difficult. Basically, she just basically shares on how we can turn our limited beliefs to unlimited beliefs. But for her to be online, she's just so jovial. Again, the challenges that goes through. But what can we learn from someone that's gone through, difficult times? Caravan with her husband going and drive to go in and look at the different market centers and help them. But she has closed a lot of successful agents. And what she said, these are some things that I've taken down that she has shared. Success is sequential, not simultaneously. You don't achieve success all at the same time, one at a time. So what you do today will affect what will happen this week, next month, and so forth. Success is sequential. We tend to stop when we are so close to success. That's what she said. She also shared basically we must stay flexible and not rigid. Things that are alive are flexible. Things that are rigid are dead. We are all human beings. Learn to enjoy what you have. Learn to communicate with your owners and your clients as if they are human beings. Have a strong morning routine. Be intentional to savor the moments. Learn to affirm yourself and show gratitude on a regular basis. And she mentioned important to meditate 10 minutes, exercise 30 minutes, and then get enough sleep and enough rest. Now, when we go through training like that, try to write down things that you can learn from other people, because from there it becomes internalized. Eventually I'll say, I want to be like her because I also want to turn my beliefs and be a person that's basically very strong, a strong morning routine. I want to go in and learn to take some time to enjoy the moments. I learn to affirm myself, affirm other people. I learn to show gratitude because it's the highest form of energy. I learn to basically have a time where I go in and connect to myself spiritual. I learn to exercise daily, 30 minutes, and make sure enough rest in my body because I want to go the long haul. No point basically achieving the goal and fall sick and not be able to enjoy the wealth that you have. Now, that's all I have to share. Now, Jonathan, basically just at this point, pass back to the group. Any ahas or things that we can share that we can maybe just wrap today's session. I hope this helped because I share a little bit of economic model, but what I want to share a little bit bigger picture. If you want to be successful, the numbers is just a starting point. There are a lot that you need to do to become successful. Can I pass it back to you, Jonathan?
Sure. So I think in order for you to have a good, successful economic model, I think there are a lot of key questions you must ask yourself. Number one, what's the average transaction value, or what's the average listing that you're going to take? So basically in your business, what's the average listing that you're selling right now? Price. If your average selling price is 800,000, 1 million, 300,000, whatever that is, know that number. Second number, what's the average commission that you're earning from that listing? Third thing, how many appointments are you going to have in order to secure the listing or in order to secure a buyer? How many appointments must you have? You need to ask all these questions that will help you to create a GPS or to help you create an understanding of the particular listing that you should be focusing on. Because agents today, your number one focus is listings and buyers, right? These two things only. If you're not focusing on listings and buyers, right, then you are not in real estate business. You are doing something else, and I don't know what that is, because our business is not complicated, right? You are looking at how many listings you have, how many buyers must you find. So ask yourself those questions. How many listings, what's the average listing price you're selling? Now, if your average listing price is very variable from 300 to 5 million, something is very wrong with your economic model. It shouldn't be that way. It should not be that way, right? So that's some of the ahas that I'm just sharing with you. When I'm coaching agents, I ask these questions to them all the time. What's their average listing price? If you cannot answer that question, go figure that out right now. And likely, you are doing too many things at the same time. Focus on being very hyper-local in your market. Okay, any ahas or any questions that you all want to add on the chat box, please? What are the ahas? Ahas, action, Harjinder, process, produce result. Actions produce result, absolutely. Anyone else? Any ahas or any questions that you all have that both Josh and I can answer for you all? Anyone? Any questions? Any ahas? Did you all learn something today? What did you all learn? Always connected. What else? What are you guys learning today? Now, when I do these sessions, right, when I've got guests come on board, I got some feedback. I say, John, why are you teaching us so basic things? This is all very basic. Then my question to them, everything is basic one. If you're doing too many things right, that is not basic, and your basic is not right, then your business is not right. Does that make sense? Someone asked why you're trading so basic, so fundamental. And I asked them this: if you want to be a kung fu master, right, you must know how to stand properly first. Your basic footwork must be correct first. If you don't have that correct, right, it doesn't matter how well you swing your fist or how powerful you hit, because nothing's going to happen. Well, someone's going to hit you and you're going to fall down. And that's very natural. I want to share this quick story here. Thank you for reminding me this story. How many of you know this guy called Lee Chong-wei? How many of you know Lee Chong-wei? If you don't know Lee Chong-wei, likely you're not Malaysian. So he is probably one of the greatest badminton player of all times. And do you all know that in his career, there are certain goals he set that he never achieved? Do you all know that? Do you all know that there are certain championship that he wanted to win, he never won before he retired? There was the World Championship he never won. There was the gold medal in Olympic he has never won. And there was the Thomas Cup as a team event that he has never won. In all those 3 events that he has participated more than one time, he always got the silver medal or the bronze. He has never gotten the gold medal in all those 3 events. My question to you right now, but do you think that he's one of the best in the world that you have seen? Yes or no? It was that goal that drive him to be where he is. By the way, he is the only Malaysian that has ranked #1 for more than 1 year in a row. He has ranked as world #1 in the singles event or singles badminton player for more than 1 year. He's the longest ever to have hit that goal. But he didn't win the gold medal in the Olympics. He always, that moment, he will lose to Lin Tan or Chen Long or whatever. He's always losing that particular, that 2 or 3 tournaments he didn't win. But doesn't mean he's not the best. So my moral of the story is this: if you're not winning a lot, right, then you start thinking, what are the steps, what are the processes that you are doing in your business? And if you interview Lee Chong-wei, he will tell you his goal is to focus on practicing his basic fundamentals every single day in his life. He doesn't spend time focusing on what's the winning way. His winning way is practice his fundamentals. I have the privilege of seeing him train one day. I was in the stadium and someone brought me in to see him train. He does drills like every other players. Simple, basic drills. right? So he spent 2 to 3 hours every day just doing the basic footing work. Without a shuttlecock, he run around the court, be focusing on his footing work, his footwork. If you all play badminton, you'll know that footwork is more important than the handwork. The footwork comes first, then only your hand comes, right? That's basically his fundamental. So I'm sharing this story is because that's how we should treat our business. What's the fundamental? What's the foundation? How are you right now? Yeah, some of these ahas are great. Your clients aren't loyal to you, they're loyal to the standard you represent. Absolutely. Learn scripting skill in order to achieve higher percentage of appointments. Absolutely. Activities does not equal to productivity. So true. That is absolutely true. Models serve as a reference point. Absolutely. What's your model? Yeah. Follow successful model. Awesome, Amy. Thank you for sharing that. Any more ahas? Any questions you all have? Any questions? Now, this is the part one of the model that we think is important as an agent, the economic model, and tomorrow we'll go deep into the lead generation model. These things, right, is basically a basic fundamental that we should be talking of it every week, every month, every day. If you go to a KWU training, right, this is what they talk about all the time. There is no special training thing that will elevate your business if your foundational models are not right. And command comes in as a tool because your model is correct. You know what kind of database you want to follow up. You know what's your sphere of influence. You know all these things, right? So this is important. Before we move on to the next segment, can I have do we have announcements ready for us? Yeah, thank you. So a lot of the models we are talking about today is based on these 3 books. Now you can order these 3 books, and the red book is my #1 thing that you all should be reading right now. Inside your goal, you should set a priority to master this book, right? And I shared a little bit about page 97, 98, 99 that talks about the 3 L's. And if you go to page 137, 138, it'll give you the 3 fundamental models. Sorry, the 4 fundamental models to succeed in your business. Next slide, please. Now, tomorrow we are going through into this lead generation model. If you have not signed in, this is the QR code. I'm going to leave it here for 20 seconds. We're going to talk about from an economic model. It will tell us how much list and how much customers we must look at. If you want to make 200,000, based on your average per unit price listing that you have, how many must you sell to hit your 200,000? And some agents, when I work with them, based on their economic model, they only need 5 owners. They only need 5 transactions. So their goal for the next 7-8 months is to find 5 buyers. Is it easy to find 5 buyers than to find 100 buyers, right? Because they are clear. And that clarity is very critical in our business right now. So that's what we're going to help you tomorrow. Next slide, please. Wednesday night, we have Gene Rivers. Gene Rivers is probably one of the top 10 or top 20 coaches, trainers in KW. It's very hard to book his time. So we managed to book his time. And he has an amazing story to share how he ran his business, started his business again when he was hit by a hurricane. He lost everything. And I got the opportunity to hear that story in Dallas in February when I was there. So and he's a good speaker and a good coach. And he's a man with good wisdom. So I appeal to all of us to sign up for this training or invite a friend. It's open for public, right? So sign up and then we will send you a Zoom link. So it's on this Wednesday at 9 p.m. to 10:30 p.m. I know it's a bit late, but I think it's necessary for us to learn from the best. And we are bringing the best opportunity for you. Next slide, please. So we are coming to the end of the session. So thank you very much for tuning in. Josh, any last points that you want to bring to our audience today? Can you please share my screen? Thank you.
The only thing, because I started that if you want to make $1 million, success leave clues. So follow those models that are proven and working. So this model that we are presenting to you is a working model. And I've shared with you people that are successful to actually do it already. So we follow them you will see the same success. And the goal that I started was not 1 million, but I broke it down into 250,000 GCI. So if you follow that one, you will reach it in 4 years. So it's just that again, is the myth is that the success is straight line, but if you do the right things, you will achieve your $1 million. Just want to share.
Okay.
Follow the model.
Follow the model. Thank you, Josh. So guys, follow the model and talk about the model. Think about the model all the time. It's how you think. In order for you to earn a net $1 million, you must first think $1 million and think through what you need to do. think through what is possible and think through what is critical that you need to do right now that will bring you income in the next 30, 60, 90. Now, it's hard to plan long-term in this season that we are in right now. It's hard because we don't know come June 9, what's the announcement from the government? Are we going lockdown again? Are we going to have CMCO again? What's going to happen, right? So plan your business based on a 30, 60, 90 day timeline. What's going to happen in the next 30 days will bring you income for the next 90 days because our business is cyclical. There's a cycle to it. So how many leads you have, how many listings you need to have right now will help you earn the income in the next 90 days, and you do that forever for the next 90 days segment in the time frame that you have. So with hope you all learned something. There will be feedback forms sent out to everyone. Please send your feedback and give us your feedback on our session so that we can improve better. With that, have a good lunch. We'll see you tomorrow morning for the next training. Thank you very much. Have a good day.